And according to the fields of the study, the type of thesis also changes. For example, in the humanities, thesis is usually a long piece of essay which develops overall sense of argument revolving around the central idea. Okay, the chapters are organized around diverse case studies or themes, and it has research and discussion session. Whereas in the other type of thesis writing or research writing, which is called empirical research, the subjects like sciences or social sciences, the topic or the data is already available. Based on the available data, you do investigate it further in order to have a deeper understanding of that matter, which is called the empirical research. So in certain cases, let's say, these particular type of writings are dealt in a separate chapters, while in others, we are required to combine the discussion sessions with the result sections. But in empirical writing, usually the research section and conclusion sections do occur separately. So your finding section comes at the end of it. So for example, in specific types of qualitative social sciences, the discussion as well as the results are woven together than being dealt separately. So the title of the chapter itself is Discussion and Results section. This is the overall scenario of any thesis that you will be writing. So as I have a fair understanding about the type of audience available here, which are from various streams, so we will be discussing about some commonalities of the powerful thesis writing techniques. Okay, so first of all, we are going to understand how is the structure of the usual thesis that flows. So you do have certain elements here in the thesis which are the obligatory parts. Though you are from the science discipline or social sciences or from humanities or any other field itself. So you do have introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. So in introduction, you introduce about your topic, which may last into several pages as one of the chapters itself. In introduction itself, you do introduce your statement of problem, methodology of study, aims and objectives. Sometimes literature review is also included in it, or you can make a separate chapter for that. That separate chapter may also called as a theoretical background. So after the introductory section, you do have theoretical background as a separate section itself, under which if you are working in humanities, you do give background of the type of works you have chosen. Let's say if those are novels and authors, more about books, their works, various interpretations, and so on. Thereafter comes application of those methodologies, and which can be cut into two separate chapters or single chapter as a third chapter or third and fourth chapter, which are the major souls of your research writing, where you are analyzing the topic at hand in detail, the data that you have collected, applying the theory that you have chosen for your research. You apply the theory in order to analyze that data in the third and fourth chapter. And your last chapter that flows as a part of your conclusion of the overall study. After the analysis, we arrive at some conclusions. Those conclusions are also known as findings. So in some cases, this chapter particularly will be called as conclusory chapter, and the title might be results and discussion, or analysis. After analysis, it will be called as a finding section. So that will be the conclusory section. So in this way, at least there are 4 or 5 chapters which are divided according to the various backgrounds those we are setting for your study. For example, setting the background, choosing one theory, particular or multiple theories which you are going to apply in order to test the data at the hand and analyze that data, which will be in the middle chapters. And whatever are your observations and your conclusions, those will occur in the results and discussion section, or even in the conclusory chapter. These are certain very important steps that every scholar must bear in mind, and this is how your journey of the research happens. Understand, research itself is searching something again with a different perspective, with an objective in the mind. This is what you have to make clear. Please remember, your thesis writing or your PhD is a journey. And this journey is set in order to reach to certain goal. And to achieve that goal, or in order to walk on the path of that achievement of that goal, you do have certain aims in your mind, certain objectives in your mind. With those objectives, your every step is going to count, every step is going to matter a lot. So you have to make sure at the beginning itself you should have a clarity about what topic you will be working on, what topic you have chosen for your study. Unless and until you do have a clarity on your topic, you cannot start working. So first and foremost is you have to finalize your topic at hand and your overall aim towards why you are choosing this topic and what you want to achieve through this. So this is very important as a step one, that choosing your research topic very carefully. Why carefully? Because whatever topic at your hand should be beneficial to a wider community, academic community, the community of scholars. It should not be beneficial only to certain number of people, which are very less in number, like 15, 20 people or only 100 people. This kind of research will not be counted as your PhD work. Whenever you will be doing a PhD work, understand the generations coming after are going to refer your work as an inspiration, motivation, a guiding path, okay, as a lighthouse. So your research should serve as a lighthouse in their life, in order whenever they are doing some study or whenever they are doing certain kind of research, your work should focus, shade some lights on their path. So it should be beneficial to the wider community. At the same time, understand your research is an opportunity to showcase your thoughts in the most effective way. So you have to be careful about which thoughts you would like to display there. At the same time, you also have to consider the time frame at hand. Whenever you enroll yourself in any PhD course in any university, your university gives you a timeline. The standard timeline recommended by UGC is 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Within first 3 years after completing your coursework, 2.5 years, you can submit your thesis and then appear for your final viva voce in next 6 months. And within 3 years, you can submit your research work, or 5 years. In certain cases, if you are not able to finish that up, then only in the rare cases you have to take extension of 1 or more years. Especially in the cases of women, these deadlines are little flexible if they are undergoing some labor or delivering a child or taking care of a child or something like that. So these are certain things which are there, you have to bear in mind. But what is more important here is you have to consider the time frame. For example, let's say whatever topic you have chosen, you have to ask a question to yourself. Is this topic achievable enough within 3 years? Can I finish my writing? Can I finish my study? Can I finish my analysis and reach to the conclusions within 3 years of the span? You have to ask this question at the beginning itself whenever you are doing a research. And then you have to go ahead. If the answer is yes, then you have to go ahead with it. Why is it so important? Because there are a lot of common cases that 100 students have enrolled in PhD course and only 10 end up doing the PhD. And 90% of them do fail. How and why? Because they do not have clear aims in their life. They do not have clear targets in their mind. They do have very vague concepts. Either the topics are over ambitious, which are overburdening them afterwards. So they feel that this is creating a burden. I'm feeling exhausted. I cannot do this work. This is too much for me. Or that span of the period goes off like that. 3 years go, 5 years go, 1 year extension, second year extension, and they are still working. Understand this is very indisciplined study that you are doing and which is not recommended in the PhD work. PhD writing or thesis writing is a very disciplined and structured study. It do recommend certain structure and fixed frame, and there are some rules and regulations to which you have to abide by. And that's why understanding the time frame and asking these questions at the beginning of your research itself are very important. Second step, once your topic is clear, second step you have to do is examine what is expected. There are some ethics protocols, okay, of research writing. For example, plagiarism. You all must have heard about this word. You cannot copy or duplicate anybody's work. Even if you are citing or referring somebody's work for your study, definitely we have to do that. While we collect the data, collect information, we do refer to multiple works. That time you have to make sure that you are giving the credit back to that particular source of information. Then it's not called as plagiarism. So you have to understand what are various ethics or protocols of your research writing. Whatever university in which you have enrolled yourself, every university do have a handbook, research handbook. You have to go through it very carefully, in which the rules and regulations and the expectations of the university about that particular research candidate is written there. What are various norms are written there. For example, some university do recommend 3 years period. Some university may recommend 5 years period, complete 5 years period as a compulsory duration that you have to spend on your research work. At the same time, some university may ask for MLA style sheet, ninth edition, or APA, 6th edition, or something like that. According to that, you have to check which referencing style your university or particular department is recommending. And abiding by that, gaining the knowledge of that reference system, you have to employ that particular reference system throughout your research work. While writing footnotes, while incorporating references in the middle of your work, or even at the end in the bibliography also, you have to use that particular style sheet of writing research. There are various style sheets of writing research. If you have done coursework, you must be well aware about it. Or if you haven't done yet, then this is what you have to actually begin with. Before you start your PhD thesis writing, you have to first study the basics of the research writing, in which comes the citation or referencing style sheet. And there are different style sheets such as MLA, Chicago, APA, Oscalo, and so on. So you have to just check it out, and you have to study the latest version of it. At the same time, there are some good websites available or softwares available like Mandely, where you can put your references and get it done in that particular style sheet. But I recommend that every individual scholar of PhD must know how to write or how to cite the information correctly in that particular style sheet. So it will be a boon, beneficial thing forever in your life, because later on also we will be writing research papers, we will be writing essays, or we also will be participating in conferences, giving presentations everywhere. This referencing is recommended. So that is a protocol of every research. Now, it is also important to understand how is a thesis structured. Now, in certain universities, they may have different structures, recommendations. So you have to just check in that handbook what are different sections they have recommended, which should be an obligatory part of your research work. For example, there are some initial pages such as declaration, certificate, thereafter abbreviations or abstract, page of content. Some more pages might be recommended. If it is in science field, then they do have a different styles of writing tables, giving formulas. If your research is based on some field work or in on some survey, then you have to add on the survey reports or some questionnaire, let's say you have taken, then you have to add that on at the end as an appendix. So you have to understand this out by just referring to your handbook. If it's not written clearly in the handbook, then check some previous thesis in your department and get the understanding that what are the basic things which are recommended or required there. What types of source materials are used? Now, when your topic is confirmed, you can either go for the field study, or you can do survey based study, or you can do a library research. It depends on the demand of your topic. According to that, you have to cite various information from various sources. So there are basically primary sources of information and secondary sources of information. So primary sources of information are those sources which are directly connected to your topic. Secondary sources of information are additional sources such as somebody else's research article, uh, expert lectures of scholars or teachers, or let's say some books from which you have referred certain information, or somebody's thesis, if you are referring to other people's thesis, that can also be the additional uh, information source which will go under the secondary source of information. So you have to just have a clear understanding about it. You have to decide which resources you will be using to collect the information, to collect the data for your study. Okay, what forms of analysis are perceived as appropriate? So you have to just check it out in the handbook that how an analysis can be done, and there will be some recommendations in it. After understanding the ethics protocols, rules, regulations, and standard practices of research writing, comes the third step. Have a clear goal and structure. At the beginning itself, you have to write a proposal, research proposal, in which there will be a thorough outline of your research work, in which you will be talking about what are various steps included in your research work and how your research will develop, and how will you walk through the path of your journey of your research and reach to the ultimate goal. So in this way, you have to just give details about that. Very important, you should have a very careful approach while crafting the proposal, because understand a very basic thing. Proposal, in the proposal state, you are proposing a topic, you are proposing a draft, you are proposing a structure, and you are seeking for the approval. So whatever you will be writing, it will come in the future tense. Please write it down somewhere in the notes if you are listening me out, because many students commit this mistake. Whatever is there in the proposal, they copy it as it is in the thesis, and then they mess it up. Because when you write thesis, it means that you have completed your study. For example, let's say you have done some experiment, you have finished your experiment, you have reached to the conclusion, you have seen results, and now you are writing about it. So whatever you will be writing, that will either come in present perfect tense or in past tense, because you are talking about completion of the action in the thesis. But in the proposal state, it is proposing, seeking for permissions. So that will come in future tense. You have to understand this very basic thing. For proposal also, how to write a standard proposal now, let's say. Then every university do have certain recommendations. So may possible some university do have different requirements. So their proposal draft is ready. Okay, so sort of template is ready. So you have to refer to that template and write proposal accordingly. Remembering it has to be in the future tense, because it is in the proposal state, you are seeking for permission. Whenever you are writing proposal, add on some basic things in it. For example, what is your topic? A clarity on that. Second is, what is the overall aim that you have for you while you are doing the research? Why you want to do it out? Thereafter, very important thing that is going to help you out to win in the proposal state is why you are doing this research and how will it be beneficial to the larger academic community. If it is beneficial to the larger group, then definitely this is a topic of some worth and people will consider you for that. Okay. So this is what you have to write in the proposal state. And then there also you have to write about possible conclusions, what kind of conclusions possible. Then in that you have to put the hypothesis, null hypothesis. You may have multiple hypotheses also, which might be leading to your possible, conclusions of your research. That will also help the reader to understand what kind of target you are aiming at. Research is a very thorough journey in which you have to keep on doing reading, keep on doing research. Before you start writing, you should better invest a large amount of time of your this journey in reading through lot of and multiple resources, collecting information from multiple resources. For example, let's say you are doing a research on some field work, such as let's say some vitamin deficiency in the lactating mothers in certain community. Okay, if you are writing a thesis on that, then you have to go there and visit that field, spend some time and interact with those mothers who are lactating, and you have to check what kind of deficiency they may have. For that, you may also have to do the blood test or other kind of test through which it will be proved that these, 70% of them are, have this vitamin D deficiency or B12 deficiency. Then you can start identifying results, what are the reasons behind it, and so on. At the same time, this kind of studies, let's say, will be beneficial to the government officials, social NGOs, or the scholars who are working in research scholar who are working in health and care industry or pharmacy. So your research will be beneficial for them. Now, this is a field work that I'm talking about. You have gone on the field, interacted with the subject, and collected data directly from that. But now, is that enough? No. Before you go there, you have to craft the questionnaire. To craft the questionnaire, it's very important for you to do the background study. While doing the background study, you have to read multiple research articles which are published based on the same topic, like research work, or let's say other things such as, let's say, somewhere in some other country they are doing the similar kind of research, then those article can be cited, read. You can see what kind of questions they asked. If there are some questions that they have asked and still you have doubt that these questions, the answers of these questions are not made, satisfactory answers are not there, then you can draft your own questions. At the same time, you have to make sure that you have to do the pilot test on these questionnaires. So you have to get it cross-checked from your peers, from your research supervisor, or the subject expert, some other subject expert, to understand what kind of conclusions possible. Because whenever you are writing questions, let's say for questionnaire, for the field work, or even for the qualitative or quantitative research, you have to make sure the conclusions should arrive exact. There should not be ambiguity that is going to lead to multiple answers possible. Okay, so while before you go on to exact writing, once your topic is finalized, you have to start collecting information from multiple resources. So though it's your fieldwork, you still have to do, let's say, uh, proper, you have to read books, read articles, listen lectures, interact with people, interview to the experts, and so on, which will help you out to get more and more insight, thorough insight about your topic, which will help you out to lead to the correct path. Now, structuring and restructuring. Understand it is an ongoing journey. If you have written once and it's gonna be some loopholes, which you will come to know in your second reading. Let's say you have written something, read that out thoroughly once again, and if you find it satisfactory, go ahead with the second write up. If you're still not satisfactory with whatever you have written, start redrafting it out. Once your whole thesis writing is done, make sure that you yourself invest some time in reading everything thoroughly from beginning till the end. If you feel reading your whole thesis is becoming boring, or anybody who is going to refer it out is also going to get bored by your research. If it's not interesting you, it will not interest anybody else. My supervisor itself told me this out, and that is true. If your research does not excite you, it will not excite anyone else. So you have to make sure that you have to put forth proper sequence in it, proper arguments in it, which will be very convincing, which will be very scholarly. At the same time, it is highly important to proofread your research. If you think that whatever draft you have done, if there are some loopholes, redraft it. Once everything is done, if you think this is satisfactory, start proofreading. Now, proofreading can be done on multiple stages. First is self proofreading, which is highly important because you are the one who has written it out. So you know better what is correct and what is wrong. You know the context, right? For example, if you are from the science field and you give it to somebody who is not from that stream, that person will not understand the context exactly. That person may give you some suggestion based on the language that you have chosen, right? So you had to make sure. Now, whatever language in which you are writing a research thesis, for example, it's in English or in Sanskrit, Hindi, Prakrit, or any other language, Urdu or anything, you have to make sure that there are no grammatical mistakes or there are no punctuation or any other related mistakes left, because that may lead to misinterpretation and that will ruin the overall impression of your thesis writing. So you have to make sure that first thing you have to proofread it out. You have to give it to the expert in that subject. It might be your PhD supervisor or somebody else or your colleague or your friend for proofreading your whole thesis. Or you can give it to the professional also who give professional services of proofreading. You also have to give it to the language expert so that person can give you suggestion from the language point of view. So once everything is proofread, it becomes a foolproof thesis. Then you are free to bind it out and submit. Now, step 4 is very important. Step 4, it starts from step 1 till the end. Right as you go from day 1 itself, when you are reading out, let's say, and some idea comes in your mind, make a notebook or a handy small small notebook or diary and start writing down those points as they are coming in your mind. When you do your final draft of your thesis, read the whole note and then cross check if something is missing. May possible you may find something is very crucial to be added, you can add that out in your final draft. It happens usually. Don't think that 1 year I will be doing coursework, second year I will be doing only data collection, third year I'll start writing. It does not happen like that. It is hand in hand complementary process which goes throughout several years from the beginning itself. Always aim for a suitable target, achievable target. Do not overburden yourself, but maintain the consistency. Check that you have addressed everything. So you can check out from your notebook. That's very important. Frequent backups and research notes are highly important. So if you are writing in on your computer, add one copy in the drive so you can access that drive from anywhere, right? And if you are not writing on your computer, if you are writing on piece of pages, then start taking printouts or at least click pictures, or there are some really good apps now available which are known as scanners. Okay, you can use those scanner apps in your mobile and you can scan the copies of your write-ups. So these are also going to help you out to maintain one more blueprint of your work. So in some case, due to some technical difficulty, if your main data is lost, if your file goes corrupt or your pages gets lost, then you will not have to regret about the whole year that you have spent or invested in some work. It will be beneficial for you to refer back to the same material but by different source. This is a very serious recommendation. Please mind it out, and all of you do not feel lazy in creating a second copy of your document, and always make sure that you have to set a week at the end of every week or immediately after writing it out, back it up, or every Friday or every Saturday you have to cross check it out and back it up. So you have to set a discipline for that. Keeping a track of your records is very important. You have to keep track of your records, what you have written last, what would be you writing. Do not keep long gaps. For example, today I have written and there came Diwali vacation. After that, there was some wedding. After that, something else has happened. And 2, 3 months, I could not write anything. Please remember, research is a very constant journey. This consistency is highly, highly important. If you have long gaps, then you are not able to connect back to what you have written few months back. May possible you are going to repeat the same information. Even when you are consistently writing, it's a very long journey, right, of few years. What you have written in the previous year in your chapter 1, You do not remember it out this year when you are writing analysis in the third chapter or fourth chapter. May possible you are repeating some information. For that, you have to make sure that you are referring back and reading again and again your previous work also. So keeping this track is also important. At the same time, you can start doing some running notes, small running notes on a separate notebook, which will help you out to keep this track and maintain the records. Now, continue to question. Every step you go, one step you go ahead, ask a question to yourself. Are you feeling satisfied? Does this answer convince you enough? Okay. At the same time, you can ask, is it true enough? Are there multiple interpretations possible? If yes, then you have to rework on whatever statement you have made. You should yourself first be strongly convinced. Only then you are going to be able to convince others. So have that critical mindset. Critical does not mean that discouraging. You should always support, motivate yourself, which is highly essential. There are going to be mental blocks, believe me, because it's a very lengthy journey. Lot of brain activity, thought process, intellectual energy is invested in that. So this is going to happen that at certain level you are going to get a mental block. Okay, now I can't think anything. I feel like this is finished, or I feel like I'm doing something very useless. I actually feel like writing something else, not this topic, because I'm not going to, I'm feeling little bored. This is going to happen. Please remember, you do not have to divert yourself. It happens many times that after certain intervals, you start feeling lazy about that certain topic. And this topic has multiple paths which are taking you to different directions, and you find those directions more appealing because those are new fields. Our mind always love to try new things. We are very curious by nature, so that feels very convincing. But if you start walking on that path, again after certain time you are going to felt exhausted. Now this is very time killing, so do not do that. That's why step one is very important. At the beginning itself you have to make clear which topic are you going to choose. Is this achievable within the time frame that has been decided by the university? At the same time, is there enough data available on it for research? Is there enough information available there for the research? Only then you have to go with that topic. Otherwise it will be just time killing and going to waste your energy. Whenever you get mental block, take small breaks, like 1 day 3 days break. You can go for a walk somewhere, or you can invest some quality time in doing some really good work. Or you can instead of writing down, you can go for third section and do some analysis. Or you can craft some start analyzing table, or you can arrange the photos for your appendice. So you will get a change in the topic for a while, and after that again you have to come back and start working fresh on the same topic. Make sure your those mental gaps should not be very lengthy. Otherwise, first of all, you will lose the interest and you will lose the track. That's very serious. So you have to keep pushing yourself, keep motivating yourself, keep yourself energized, entertaining yourself, so you can feel relieved and you can enjoy this process. Believe me, this is the most beautiful journey that all of we do have when we do our PhD work, because this is a complete creation by ourselves, our own discoveries, our own innovations, our own eurekas. So there is definitely a joy behind finding something new. Always remember, when you are choosing topic, whatever you write, there should be a contribution to the existing stream of knowledge. It is not something that you are randomly doing. You have to add on into something that is available. Otherwise, your research is not considered as a research. Now, whenever you are asking questions, explain your reasoning, forming a strong arguments to yourself while you are giving answers. Bibliography contains plenty of references, so make sure that you are citing each and every piece of information that is there you have used in your oral thesis. Otherwise, it will get caught into the plagiarism. So you have to make sure that you spend enough time in writing bibliography. Bibliography literally goes in several pages, like 10, 15 pages also at times. Well structured and coherent and polished thesis is recommended. Reassessing the logic of the whole piece is very important. For that, you have to start reading it from beginning, non-stop till the end. Only then you will understand it in one go. If you have gaps and you feel lazy that I won't be reading chapter 1, I won't be reading chapter 3, it won't happen like that. You have to always be available for yourself, understand, or else things won't work. Sufficient time for checking has to be given, proofreading and proof checking. For example, let's say some 15 days to 1 month you have to dedicate just for proofreading and proof checking. You have to get it proof checked from multiple resources. Read each and every word, each and every piece of information, number, table, graph, whatever you have included, formulas, their results, their conclusions. If it is some sum you have solved, try redoing it on rough page and cross it out if it has gone correct. You have to spend that much time, because once you bind your thesis and submit it out, you cannot change it again. You do not have, it goes along with those mistakes, and ultimately you will pay for those results. In some cases, their theses are rejected just due to small silly mistakes, and they lose the whole 5 years of their degree, and they have to begin it fresh. In some cases, they are not even allowed to do it again. So you have to be careful. This particular stage, ending stage, is very important. Though it looks small comparatively, but it is highly crucial. Main argument should always support by the relevant citations. You have to make sure that every information is clearly cited there. Contributions of the most influential theories and research. Whatever you are doing, whatever topic you have chosen, always make sure that it is based on some concrete theory, which should be the foundation. If your foundation is not strong, the building that you are going to build will be very weak, right? So for your strong foundation, you have to go for some strong theories which will back up your idea, your main argument of your research, which will be helpful for you to analyze or test your data against those theories, so you can reach to the expected conclusions. So this is how is the structuring of the standard thesis. It may differ from university to university. This is how the first page looks. This page is also on the print cover of your thesis, beautiful golden against the black background with nice beautiful squares or some outlines. And it's also the second page inside, that is practically a first page, which includes your the name of your university, your title, submitted by, that is you, submitted to, that is your supervisor, then department and the university, month and date. These are some very important things. Acknowledgement is a beautiful place where you must thank to all those people who have helped you out in the journey of your PhD thesis completion. Abstract is a summary of whatever you have written. It usually goes from, in research paper, it goes from 150 to 300 words. But in thesis, it's little lengthy piece of write-up. So it flows in one page in several, let's say 5 to 7 paragraphs. It depends on the size of your thesis. Usual standard size of thesis in Pune University is around 300 pages, 200 to 300 pages. Some university may recommend for something else. For example, one of my teachers who did PhD and did it in Western University, the thesis was only in 120 pages. Same with the MPhil. MPhil was only 70 pages. On the contrary, I did my MPhil and my MPhil thesis is of hundreds of pages. So this may vary according to the university. You have to just get the clarity from the handbook, or you can connect to that particular postgraduate department where you can get this information. Understand, abstract should state the main topic and aim of your research, methodology you have used, summarize main results, and your main argument in the conclusion. So the reader who is going to refer your thesis out is going to refer the abstract first, and there oral idea should be given. Table of contents should contain name of the titles, subheadings, along with the page numbers properly. If you are using some abbreviations, some list figures and so on, then you have to give at the beginning also in a separate on a separate page, because it becomes very difficult for the reader to get back to the whatever is the long form of that abbreviation and find it out through the thesis. It's always better to refer to directly that particular page. Thereafter, I already have talked about introduction, literature review, methodology and all. Here, methodology, I'll just briefly talk about few things here once again. Different type of methodologies are there, such as qualitative, quantitative, experimental, ethnographic, and so on. Now, qualitative, quantitative measure methodologies are there of research. Quantity deals with numbers, please remember. So quantitative means when you are describing or collecting data or analyzing data based on the numbers. For example, survey results of the population growth in India in last decade, okay, or in last 5 years. There you are going to deal with the numbers, and that research will go under the quantitative method. For example, in the fields of maths or certain sciences, statistics, more goes into quantitative method. Whereas qualitative method has descriptions, the data is also collected in the same sources like library research and so on. Experimental, where you, for example, if you are in pharmacy, health and care, or physics or chemistry, then you have to more go into the experimental research, which will happen in the laboratories. Ethnographic, if you are studying certain ethnicity, certain tribe, their culture, ways of living, or some a bloodline, or food habits, or clothing, or something that goes into ethnographic study. So in this way, various studies happen. There are various methodologies of collecting the data, such as you can collect the data through interviews, surveys, archives, reports, gadgets, or library research, and so on. So these are certain things which come under the methodology. You can even refer back to this page. Results and findings are very important parts of your research. That is like a soul of your research, where you are going to talk about what you have observed, so your overall observations, and what are your conclusions based on that. Understand, whole research work is a very objective work. There does not come subjectivity. It talks only in terms of proof and results. Proof and results. Whatever statement you are going to make, you have to be very careful and responsible about that. Unless and until you do have concrete backup for that, you cannot make any random statement. So you have to prove your statement by giving a proper backup to that. You have to provide lot of proofs for saying anything in your conclusions or in your final findings itself. Now, concluded chapter is very important, where you have to rebrush to your main findings. What are your main arguments? What are your major contribution? There comes also the sections like scope for further research. Thereafter, pedagogical implications, how it will be beneficial to the academia, and so on. So in which it will be given that how the further researchers can shed lights on various aspects which are not possibly covered through this research due to the limitation of the study. So you can even add one section called scope and limitation. So under limitation, you can suggest certain areas for the further researchers to go ahead for their study. At the same time, you have to talk about why this research matters. Please remember to entertain, especially the referencing, very seriously. You have to check out which style sheet suits to your work, and according to that, you have to go ahead with your referencing. Appendices, as I already have told, it depends on the topic that you have to add on those appendices, such as questionnaires, survey reports, photographs as a proof. These are some very important mistakes every scholar must note and avoid. Some people omit the preliminary pages. Understand these are very important. Without that, your thesis is incomplete. For example, the certification, the right certification, self-declaration. These are very obligatory things. Abstract of your thesis should not be longer than a page unless and until there is some recommendation. Thereafter, your thesis should not at all contain any kind of formatting mistakes. Justify 12 font, 1.5 line spacing or 1 line spacing as recommended by the university. Check it out, abide by that. 1.5 inches from the left side, top, bottom, right, 1 inches. These are the standard formatting norms. You had to please study that out and start practicing it as a discipline. Your thesis should not contain any words from the proposal stage. I already have told you it should not be in the future tense. It should be in the past tense or present perfect, because you have completed your work and you are writing about what you have done, right? Your thesis should not violate any of the academic integrity. You have to abide by the ethics protocols, rules, regulations, and follow it out throughout your work. No grammatical errors, jargons, unclear paragraph organization, or illogical write-ups should be there. And then ultimately, if you follow all these things, ultimately you will successfully complete your work and you will be awarded your degree. So congratulations once again to all of you for listening me carefully and patiently. And here I end my oral discussion for timing on research writing or thesis writing, effective, powerful thesis writing. And I open the session for further question answers.